Do you use Sanaderm?
Sanaderm, I switched over to more like medical grade stuff, which was Dynarex and all that stuff. But
I only know it as Sanaderm. I didn't know what the thing's called without it being called Sanaderm.
Yeah, no, they're all good and they all have the same concept. I just look at them as like artificial scabs.
Yeah, artificial scabs. Like, as long as I wasn't sure if we were gonna use one or not.
Oh yeah, I definitely. You're not allergic to like adhesives or anything like that, right?
Not that I'm aware.
Yeah, that's the only things that I can think of as far as like issues goes using that.
So you're recording in like because we can do a podcast if you want.
Yeah, we should. You know what I mean? You have like a set location on where you do yours?
No, I do mine. I travel. I bought a Zoom H6 and the Zoom H6 is one that you can either do hand to hand. I have mics that I can just put into it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have to pick your brain on that because I definitely want to get some equipment. That way, like maybe I can put like a mic behind somebody and I'll wear it.
Because that would be so cool. We're already having really good conversations in here.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Your experience, my experience, just being able to go into it. That'd be sweet.
So when you said that you also have experience in therapy and all that stuff, what sort of trauma were you going through where you had to go through that?
I went through some sexual trauma.
I'm assuming in the family then, huh?
Yeah, my grandpa, not super great dude.
Yeah.
So he had some molestation and some sexual trauma.
Yeah, we were able to eventually use it as growth then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. It's a very hard one to overcome, man. But
sure is.
If you are able to, man, the growth behind all that is insane, you know?
Oh yeah, I've loved it.
Challenges in general, but that one's not too many people get through that one, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My sister called me. What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Jake? Going good. We just did the first line. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, it's funny. Like, you just talked me through the whole scenario. Right. Yeah, it's way exciting. Oh, you're in price? Okay. Oh, what? Yeah, don't mess with that. Yeah, we'll be here. Yep, we looked at the stencil and it's pretty sweet concept. I'm excited for you to look at it. Yep, black and gray. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for you to see it. Yep, that's working. Yep. Yeah, it's saying an hour 55, so you should be here 2:30, something like that. Cool. Well, thanks for coming. I'm excited to see ya. I am too. Okay, we'll see ya. Love you. Bye.
So that's your sis?
Yeah, it's my sis.
Older or younger?
Younger. So I'm the oldest of 6.
Oh, okay. Man, that's a big family right there.
No, dude, I don't know how my mom did it. She's pregnant for like 10 years.
Yeah, I lived on her back most of the time.
Yeah.
Man.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, so my sister's right in the middle of all of us boys. She got 3 older brothers and 2 younger brothers.
Cool.
Yeah. And Yeah, right now she's living in Moab with her husband, and they just run an Airbnb. Well, they run an Airbnb for somebody else. And you want me to twist that more for you?
No, you're good.
Okay, we're in a good spot. But yeah, this is. She's like, I've got to be there to support you as you transition into the outcast clan. And I was like, I know. Yeah.
I was teasing my client on Friday because he's got a lot of tattoos, but none of them are visible.
Mm-hmm.
And so this last Friday was his most visible tattoo. And so every time he went like this, I was like, criminal, non-criminal, criminal, non-criminal. So he was just the whole time laughing. Every time he looked at him, like, criminal. And he put it down like non-criminal. It's funny.
That's hilarious. Criminal, non-criminal.
Yeah, it's funny.
That one girl that you just, I don't know if you did that yesterday or...
Oh, that extension? The one that you complimented on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that one was on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so we did that. She allowed me. That was like my first big tattoo I ever did. Yeah, and it was on my buddy's wife. And so it's cool. She always supported me as an artist, like in my earlier years. So she would always buy like canvases, like when I have like these little mini art shows, or every time I was a part of an art show, she would always buy something for me. And so I always thought that was dope. And then when I got into tattooing and all that, she was just like, hey, I'll buy it. How much is this one? I really like it. And I'm like, oh shit, you know, I tried to give her like a low price or whatever. And she always gave me more and stuff, so it's funny. But yeah, she's always supported, man.
That's so
2009,
cool.
man. That's how old that town is.
2009.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, huh?
That is so crazy. That was...
When my son was first born, man.
Is that when he was born?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and then my oldest, she's born in 2008, and then our youngest, 2010.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, all that stuff. I graduated in 2007 from high school. In 2008, I was on a mission. San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, how was that? I always hear people have the most interesting experiences on their mission. Dude,
missions are... The cool part that happened for me is I went out there not to convert people. I had it in my head that I was like, I was going to be out there to love the people. You know, at the time, thinking like, oh, I'll just do what Christ did, which was love people. He'll be successful if all I do is serve and love. And, you know, people want to learn about Christ, like, awesome, let's teach about Christ. And so I had my own little internal battles because people would be like, you know, testify about our prophet that's living day, and I'm like, oh, he's kind of a cool dude, I guess. Like,
yeah.
And but I'm like, man, when it comes to like following Christ and loving people, it's like, let's love. We can totally love. Let's, you know, engaging in that. That was really cool. Plus, it was Spanish speaking, so I was talking to a lot of the Hispanic population, and that was super fun.
Yeah, it's a heavy influence out there, down south.
Yeah.
So you were, I'm assuming, South Texas then?
Yeah, I was Austin, and I went even to the border of Mexico. So Austin, San Antonio, and Eagle Pass. And being out there was a lot of fun. But met Honduranians, Mexicans, people from Chile, Cuba. Have a lot of really cool individuals that...
It's crazy they have their own little edge too.
Oh, they do.
Like when you hang out with them long enough, you could see like the little differences and edges that they have, you know, amongst each other.
Yeah. And their dialects are different. Slang is different. I mean, it's way cool. So learn Spanish. Got to experience the church thing on that, but also a different place than Utah, which is really good.
Yeah, that experience alone, right, would be like pretty dope.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. But you were having kids at that point in time.
For real, huh?
Yeah.
Probably was a good thing though.
Was it?
Yeah, man, I was wilding out when I was young, and when I had my son, man, it just really opened up my eyes to like how much they are sponges to you, you know. And you know, it was that point where I made my first big break as far as like, you know, wisdom was, yeah, dude, my son was starting to project like what his surroundings and his environment was, you know, because yeah, I used to hang out and just do dumb shit, drink, fight all the time, you know, and so he was starting to build like a temper, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, and so like his environment was starting to reflect and project onto him, and so I remember he met like another baby, and he like slapped the shit out of the mom that was carrying him, dude. Like her earrings and everything flew off, and I was like, whoa, no. I was like, man. And I realized, I'm like, holy cow, like I'm starting to mold him, like, you know what I mean? How based off on how I was raised, and so I started learning like to bite my lip and control my ego and just things like that, you know, because I was like, oh, he's watching, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was my first big break, was having kids, you know. And yeah, I always tell people like, man, we learn more from our kids than they do from us, because it's a 50-50 relationship, you know, everything is. And without having my kids, you know what I mean, I wouldn't be the parent and the father and the man I am today. And so I owe them a lot, you know, I owe them for that.
Absolutely.
So people always think like, oh, I tell my kids what to do and this and that, you know. Which, don't get me wrong, sometimes I do, you know. I had to like kind of spit some knowledge to my girls over the weekend with my wife, but
yeah.
But no, it's I've learned as much as I have. I mean, I've learned as much from them as they probably have from us, you know, because I got to see like what a better person I could have been, you know, from a long time ago. Like they helped me recognize who I really am, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I owe my kids a lot, man. We learn a lot from them as they learn from us, you know. It's a mutual agreement. So
I agree. The interactions I've had with both your kids just been small, but very well mannered and really, really chill humans.
Yeah, they're really you know, they've been through us with all of our business experiences, so they're not too open to people, right? They kind of like, what's this guy want? You know what I mean? But you know, eventually they'll learn to read people before they even have to project that, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, no, they're really really observant, so you know, they won't just open up to you, you know. They kind of observe people before they open up. At least our two younger ones do.
Yes.
My oldest, man, she just dives right in. You know?
And I think I was interacting with your oldest. She was the one that was running the coffee lounge at the time.
Yeah.
Or I think your wife was there, but she was taking the money and getting the sushi bowls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Put together.
All the other side stuff.
That stuff's good over there too, man.
Oh, the sushi bakes? Yeah.
Sushi bakes, that's what it is.
Yeah, those things are like one of our biggest hits.
Yeah, that was good. We were out of town last weekend, and we would have totally been over for bulgogi.
Oh yeah, you're good. Yeah, that one sold out too. That one was pretty cool.
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, back to what we were talking about before, as far as your experiences go. So, what helped you like pull yourself out of that whole bind, you know, that vice that you were going through?
Oh man, I think a lot of it. You talk about church stuff.
Yeah, just your experiences too, growing up, and all the trauma that you went through and all that, you know.
I think the big thing, it was interesting. So I started remembering most of it, or having it come to light back when I was in I think it was my junior year, maybe my sophomore year in high school. Got this girlfriend, and she's the coolest. Even to this day, like, I honor her and appreciate who she is. For being that person to help me remember and like to start feeling the things I was avoiding. But totally ghosted her before ghosting was a thing.
Yeah, because you know, sometimes there's just not a frequency alignment to some of those experiences that are happening for us. You know, it's always happening for us and not to us. But
exactly.
Fortunately, you know, if you're not aware, frequency alignment to that knowledge and wisdom at the time, it just kind of passes through you until you're like, oh shit, you had this rude awakening. You're like, that's what the hell they meant, you know what I mean?
Yep. And so she was totally into me. She was such a nice girl, and I started feeling sick, and it was mostly around like we started making out and all that other stuff, like becoming more sexual in a certain way, but not even very sexual with genitals or anything. It was just like feelings started to arise, plus it was sexually arousing, and then I was like, holy shit, what's wrong with me? I'm like, does this mean I'm gay? I don't know what this means. And there was more of like this remembering that started to happen, and so I went and started going to therapy, and my confidence level boosted up. I got to remember more of the stuff that had happened and process the stuff that I was thinking of.
Okay, cool.
And so being in that place, I went through therapy pretty intense on a weekly basis for like 2 years, and got to really experience me and start to readdress my story, and that's what I really liked, is being able to manage that.
That's cool. When you say when you get to readjust your story, do you mean like start taking control of your reality?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's amazing, man. When you realize that it's all on us, and we're the ones that actually get to choose the perception of that, man, it's you become pretty powerful, man. You know what I mean?
Very powerful.
You start realizing that it's always been within us, you know, but it's just we become such polluted and toxic humans, you know, we forget ourselves, and you know, the moment you start recognizing yourself and all that stuff, you're able to like control things and get what you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like the way that you word that. With the controlling your reality, is that controlling the reality is, I mean, that's the entirety of it is when I work with people, or when I was doing it myself, is it was all about like, well, what do you want? Like, well, what do you mean, what do I want? You know, what does the prophet say, or what does society say? What's normal? I need to know. It's like, no, you're the person that's in charge of your, like, people are going to give you black dots. People are going to give you gold stars and want you to change.
Yeah.
And that's them.
Yeah. It's not relevant towards your reality, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
And it kind of goes back to like the belief systems that, you know, we came out of, you know, because I grew up Catholic, you know, and it's not any better either, you know what I'm saying, but but don't get me wrong, there is good and bad in everything, you know what I mean, like I feel like the respect and the, you know, the family orientation stuff in it can be good, but it gets kind of watered down with like all the, hey, you need to do this, if you don't do this, you're a bad person, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's no such thing as good and bad or right or wrong, it's just what's definitive and non-definitive towards your reality, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's as soon as you break out of that vice and start realizing things like that, you know, you kind of get into this phase where you almost start having animosity towards like that, you know what I mean? Yes. But, you know, even that's not accurate, you know? Because it's just, we always want to move towards love, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And we have to actually thank that belief system and going through that process, because if it wasn't for that experience, we wouldn't be able to grow and know what we know now, you know what I mean? Yes. So is it really a bad experience if you're learning from it, you know what I mean? That's
where like when the anger and the hate starts coming, and people are like, I'm angry, I'm so mad. I'm like, okay, you need to go through that process.
Yeah, it's actually like right when you get out of that pool, there's like another pool, you know? That
Yep.
It's like one fire spot to another, but this time it's, you know, the heat's a little bit on low instead of high.
Yes, it's not boiling. Yeah. Well, and that's a big part of what you're on right now. Interesting, we're tattooing the yin yang right now is the huge part in this, and the reason like what we've got everything on here is, so the runes that you tattooed lower, that's the Norse goddess Freya, and that's how you spell her name in the runes, and the runes themselves have their own power, which is really cool. But she's the goddess of sex, love, war, and she essentially embodies sacred duality, which is the being able to hold war, sex, and love in the same being. Is that what this is?
That's what the mural stands for, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And be able to find the mid-grounds of it.
Yes, that's cool. That's what I'm all about, and that's what I find myself engaging in therapy. How I try and keep growing as myself as a person, which is what brings me to the Tao, you know, the yin yang, which is essentially like in any situation, take a breath, keep moving through it. In the dark there's light, and in the light there's dark, and we're not here to get rid of one or the other.
Oh no, yeah, they can both be used, because it's like you said, the thing of duality is like there's no such thing as bad or it's right or wrong. It's we need negativity in order for us to bounce ourselves. Because how can if you're super positive, like, and there's no negativity, like how are you supposed to compare yourself to like what else is out there? You know what I mean? If everything is all good, you know.
Yeah.
So we need everything, you know. Like you said, light can't shine without darkness. Everything is duality. I can't be a tattoo artist without a client. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
There's negative energy, positive energy, masculine energy, feminine energy, you know?
Yes.
So,
and trying to incorporate those instead of seeing one as less than and one greater than.
yeah.
Like, oh, I'll be an alpha. Like, maybe there's times to be alpha and there's times to be beta and times to be more feminine, more masculine.
Yeah. It's learning how to play chess with all of them.
Yes, and that they all bring their own strengths and their own shadow side.
Time and place for everything.
Absolutely. So that's what I love that. I didn't know that was this mural back here is on the sacred duality side of things.
Yeah. So I was able to tune into that at one point too, just after I started recognizing my own ego and just, you know, kind of reflecting back to my own experiences, which is like, it's funny because like men aren't shit without women, you know what I mean? Because women, just the presence of a woman, like my wife, for instance, like pushed me to be a better man. You know? Just her presence. And then when you have a daughter, it's like ×3, you know what I mean? And that's just them being around you, you know, because now you got to be like the man that you would want your daughter to hook up with. You get what I'm saying?
Totally.
So it pushes you to be that extra discipline, extra on your toes, you know what I mean? Like, gotta watch what you do, watch what you say.
Yeah.
It's all projecting into your environment, you know, which is theirs, that the one that you're creating for your kids. And so, yeah, man, that battle of duality, bro, it's funny.
It is.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, don't get me wrong, like, I sound wise as fuck, but I'm still having the human experience, you know? Still working on things, and, yeah.
And I like that we can acknowledge that on both accounts, because it's the same thing. It's like, well, we're still in this body. We're still trying to figure it out. We still have weaknesses and strengths, and we try and get it figured out, and then it's like remembering it. And
the one thing I realized, though, through my adventures in my path is you never try to figure things out. Because the moment you try to figure things out, you try and control. And I learned a lot of things that you cannot control anything. You can't control one thing. You know, the moment you start thinking that, you start going on like a non-definitive path. You know what I'm saying? Just think about it. Name one thing that you can control. You can't even control your kids. However, parents always try to.
Oh, that's the biggest one. Like, but they're my kids. I'm like, no. They are humans.
They're souls. You know?
They're tiny humans, and there's no controlling another human.
There's no controlling and everything, you know. And you can look back to like a lot of these other wise masters, you know, like Bruce Lee, to say like flow like water, you know. Like why try and go against the current when you can just go with it, you know. Yeah. So it's just the way energy works. I think there's an old saying that Tesla said, which is if you look at terms of the universe, or if you look at reality in terms of energy, then you will unlock the universe's secrets, because everything is frequency, everything is numbers. Like whatever you donate your energy towards, like whatever you focus on will grow. You know what I mean? Because you're donating energy to it.
Oh. It's kind of a cool thing that, so the end of this week, I'm actually stepping back from being one of the pronounced leaders of the healing group. And it's this Friday that it goes into effect. Essentially, it's where my step down will start taking place. So it's kind of fascinating that all of a sudden it's like this is showing up.
It's all happening accordingly.
Accordingly, right?
Divine order.
And that's everything you just said there is like, I find it super important of just like letting things, instead of trying to control and be like, okay, well, what's the next thing? It's like, no, the universe has got something on its way.
Yeah, man. Just be good and enjoy the ride. And just stay positive and
just keep
help others.
Keep working.
You know what I mean? Help others too when you can.
I love that. So I'm working towards just being able to, instead of focusing my energy and efforts into growing the healing group, someone else's business, someone else's experience and their desires, I'm like, man, I want to keep presenting and do these other things. I want to grow in myself. I'm like, but I don't have time or energy. I get down at the end of the day and I'm like, man, I've been working, 10 hours or doing whatever I've been doing. I'm like, now I just want to relax and kick back, and hard to grow what I would like to do if it's me trying to focus on managing all these other therapists.
Another key term that would go back and reflect to look at things, reality in terms of energy is how's your diet, bro? Like as far as intake.
It's been a lot better.
In general, though, like, because people forget that diet when you hear diet, people think like food, right? It's actually like what you see, you know, what you listen to, like everything as far as intake goes. Because a lot of stuff can take your energy away. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta protect your energy. Like the news, food. Yeah, like the news, bro. Like that. The news is no good for your mental, bro. Like at all.
No, and when you see it as who's controlling what information you're getting.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And it depends on if you like. The easiest way to look at it is like, okay, so let's say you're looking at Fox 13, or you're looking at Fox News, or you're looking at CNN. Like, you talk about extremes on two polarities.
Right.
Same story, or same situation, extremely different ideas of what happened, and it's like there's too much energy to try and figure out what the truth is.
Yeah, and see, look, what's your opinion on people who gossip?
Like on the gossip side of things, just where they start. How would you define gossiping?
Well, gossiping as far as like the negative side of it, like they're always just constantly like, oh my god, this is what so and so did, this and that. You know what I mean? Like that's what the news is, bro. Like, it's very negative. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the information that they project is like all fear programming. You know what I mean? Like, oh, guess what? In your neighborhood, somebody stole a car, and like, it's like, bro, man, like,
and the
fear mongering, shit, you know.
The fear mongering behind it is what drives me nuts, because they're taking the duality and they start calling each other names, and they're like, the evil left, and like that is a judgment call that does not.
Oh, have they really like started taking it that far now?
Oh, dude, I've heard on multiple levels, and they're using
news is all banging on each other,
dude, using words like Satanists.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, you guys are that is heavy information, but both sides are doing it.
That's funny.
Where it's just like, you know, if you were a Christian,
fighting, you know?
Oh, dude, it feels and sounds just like that.
That's so funny.
We're just like, okay, calm down, you guys. Yeah. Calm down.
If I ever watch the news, it's probably gonna be to like see what they're not talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
If I ever do, it's just like I'll just check the weather real quick, and even that's not even predictable. But
no,
you know what I mean.
It's also good to know a little bit if you plan on at least some
more for like wash your car reasons.
Yeah. And there's so much that you can consume, and people are constantly trying to get you to consume.
Yeah.
And so they try and make it as sensational as possible to get you to stay for as long as possible, to get you to comment. You know, we're just tools for money at that point in time.
It really is, man. Like when I hear some of these comments that some of my clients say, it's funny, you kind of just confirm like where it's coming from, because I had no idea the news is like projecting things like that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to believe, but I can't believe they're actually like Satanists, you know, far left, far right. It's crazy.
I'm telling you, dude, it is fascinating to watch. Yeah. Especially when you get more into the extreme sides. Like if you were to watch Tucker Carlson, he's more on the right side of things, or his more extreme right side, and you don't have to watch for very long before a put down, a slam,
name calling and all that.
Name calling, judgment. You would think that blah 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 blah, and it's just it's draining. I just can't.
The ego's projecting.
Yeah, dude. So it's pretty intense to be able to watch. And I don't do a lot of watching that just because it becomes so frustrating and difficult to.
So those like programs are, I call them like energy vampires. All they do is drain your energy, you know what I mean? And like I just refuse to give my energy towards things that don't have anything to do with my reality, you know? Which is belief systems, politics. Like I was telling one of my other clients, because he was kind of going off about that stuff. This was like about 2 weeks ago, you know, oh, left side this, right side this, so yada yada yada. And I was like, man, I just want to be real with you, man. I was like, so I've been alive. I probably have like a 6 to 8 year, you know, age difference with him. And I told him, bro, I've been around. Every time like there's a present selection, it goes like from red to blue. You know what I mean? Now it's like black and white. And I said, it doesn't matter like who was present at the time or what color was present at the time or whatever. It never once controlled my reality. You know what I mean? At all. And he goes, well, it makes it harder. I'm like, no, it didn't. You know what I mean? Because like I don't donate any energy toward that stuff because it doesn't benefit me. You know? And like one man, I would never let one man control my reality, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so Yeah, I could see the wheel was turning in him. You know, he just kind of got quiet and was thinking. I'm like, right, you're still working. Like I was still, you know, raising my kids. I was still working, tattooing, hustling. Like, and just like, yeah, maybe gas went up a few times, but who knows? Even if that's a reason with politics, you know what I mean? Like, it could be something else that we don't know about, you know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of agreements going on behind closed doors that, you know, the information we're given is the information we're given. I think of it as parents and kids, you know? It's like, your kids know what you let them know.
Exactly.
And then
people
hopefully doing that.
People forget too, America's a business and we're the employees. You know what I mean? Like that's just facts. And they, you know, I'm not taking away from any soldiers or troops and you know their bravery, but they sell you with patriotism. You know what I mean? They sell you with freedom. You ain't free, bro. Try quitting your job and making a living. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, you are not free at all. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty free, but I still have to work. You know what I mean? If I was free, I wouldn't even be working the amount that I'm working. You know what I mean? But a lot of that is mixed with my goals too. You know, but see, even then, I'm a slave to my goals. You know?
Yep. No, I hear you there because it's not to slam anyone's choices or decisions or where they're at in life, but it really is. I know any president that gets in is not being like, hey, you know what, this one's for Braxton. Like,
right,
this is like they got to the place they want to. They're making the money, the decisions, and at that point in time, I don't even know that it's about money anymore. I think it's about power. Just
it really is.
What kind of power you've got.
Because think about it, man. There's a lot of trillionaires out there that pull these strings, right? They already have all the money you can possibly have, right?
Yeah.
So what's the next thing in line that becomes satisfying? Control,
Puppeteering, dude.
Puppeting, man.
Hey, I'll bet if we could do this and we drop this price that we could run a whole thing this direct. Oh, look what we did. That's fun.
They already control a system that they had created around this, you know what I mean? So what's the next thing after that? What can we get away with?
What can we get away with?
It's fun,
shit, dude. That's so rough. Yeah, because I often wonder, like, you see the billionaires, trillionaires, like, there's a lot, they could do a lot of stuff to change the world, and it's like, no, we'll just keep going.
Yeah. But don't forget the duality, right? We need them right now because that's what's pushing humanity to be better and recognize ourselves. Because if it wasn't for the, you know, perfect system, people wouldn't be waking up, you know what I mean?
So true.
So it's funny. It's negative energy and positive energy. That's all it is. And
it's all rolling together.
Yep.
Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it's less.
Yeah. It's hard to see it, but you know, they're part of it too. They forget they're part of this nature as well. You know.
Yeah.
So they're playing their role. So if it wasn't for all their crazy investments and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Humanity would never wake up.
So true. So freaking true, man.
One big circle, man.
And I'll speak on an I statement there, but the more I recognize that it all has a role to push and pull because we're all part of the same system, that someone's disappointment is not a failure. Someone's disappointment is their ability to then work on what that means to them. Yeah. Just like disappointment, satisfaction, happiness, like it all plays its own role.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be judged.
Those are all just personal challenges we go through, you know what I mean? Because, like we were saying earlier, like, is it really a challenge and you know, downfall if you learn from it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just happening for you, you know? You just had to take the lesson. But it's really hard to do that when you got people out there, too. And another part of the system, right? Like, me, why?
Yeah.
Always playing the victim, you know? But it's funny.
Big part of as I've been looking more into Taoism. Well, I don't even like saying Taoism because I'm not planning on being like a convert, if you will.
Yeah, you could just say in the laws of nature.
In the laws of nature, yeah. That being able to say like this is the way. You know, the world works in our universe and everything has its pattern, and we play into the pattern.
That cycle, man.
That cycle's going to continue.
Circles.
When we're here, outside of it. And the circle. Oh, is this where the circles come in?
Yep.
This is where the circles come in.
Same thing with controlling your reality. It's a circular motion because whatever you put out there comes back around. You know? So it's everything is a cycle. The seasons, the DNA.
Yeah.
The illusion of time is even defined as a circle. You know?
Tell me about the illusion of time being a circle. I don't know that I've heard.
Well, if you just look at a clock, it's in a circular motion, right? But so time is an illusion, and I don't mean that in like a conspiracy way. It's just it's the best way to describe it is humanity had to create a measurement of the now.
Yes.
Because I always tell my clients, just because you go to sleep and wake up, it doesn't mean it's tomorrow. It just means you woke up in the now again. But we create a calendar, you know what I mean? So one day is 1 inch on the ruler, 1 week is, 12 inches on the ruler, a month is a meter stick. It's just, how am I supposed to tell you to meet now? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why we have this, measurement of the now, because it just makes things a little bit more convenient as far as like meeting up, planning, timing, things like that.
And deciding like, well, how long ago was something? You can't say like,
now.
Yeah, at the end of the now.
So yeah, it's, and if time was real, we wouldn't be able to manipulate it an hour forward or an hour back. It would just be definitive. It would just be constantly going, which it is. And that's why these runes, you see the knots, they have no endings. Ah, yes. They were tuned in as well, So they knew that there wasn't an end. It was just infinite.
Just continuous.
Continuously happening.
Yeah. So fascinating. Yeah, the funny part is even our calendar system is it's off by a quarter of a day, quote unquote, where they have to keep resetting it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why we got that leap year, right? They're like, it works enough.
Yeah,
we got it close enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Like, we can try and figure out this per day, but let's just every 4 years, we'll just drop her back a day. Just so the sun, we want to keep the sun in the sky for productivity.
Right.
It's
funny, huh?
So funny. All the definitive stuff, even the stuff like you talked about with time being something you can count on, but time is just the construct.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to not get as angry or frustrated when things happen. Like, I think a lot of the things I do when it comes to people come see me for road rage, anger management.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. And like, well, how do I stop this? And I was like, so walk me through when someone cuts you off in traffic. Where do you start sacrificing your ability to make choices? Well, the guy's doing a bad thing, and I need to stop him. Oh, you need to control the other person. So you, in turn, are going to then start driving poorly to try and make sure they know that they are doing wrong and they're putting other people in danger.
Yeah.
So how do we give that a calm space where you don't need to control that? And that, when we can take that control over that thought that there's got to be something that happens and be in control of, when people grasp onto that and they can take a breath and let the breathing happen, let their heart rate decrease, and give themselves that permission to go like, hey, that irritates me, and it's okay for me to feel emotion, and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I feel needs to happen, but I can also make a decision.
What's funny is that their concept is like, I need to control this guy, right, for his actions. But they don't realize that they're allowing them to control them by controlling their thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Like, they've sacrificed it.
I told one of the barbers, I said, he was complaining about something, and I said, sounds like you're letting so-and-so live rent-free in your head. And he kind of stopped and thought, you know what I mean? And he started laughing. He caught himself. He was like, oh, shit. Like, I need to control this.
Yep.
Because it's controlling me,
Absolutely. What's fascinating about this tattoo as well, with the controlling and having people live rent-free in your head. I didn't pull the trigger on this tattoo until I changed the location of where I was talking about getting the tattoo.
Oh, yeah? So there was more placement then, huh?
Uh-huh. And it didn't look like this. Yin Yang was in it. In fact, I've actually got a burn up here in my... you barely see it.
No, I see it.
Of a Yin Yang. So I was like, I'll be able to hide that.
Yeah.
That was the main piece there. So I was like, I'll get this tattoo where I can, underneath here, where I can have a sleeve. And my dad won't know. And I was like, wow, he really controls my actions.
Yeah.
He doesn't need, whether he knows it or not, it's all stuck in the space.
Yeah, you based that decision around his opinion,
Yep, all around thinking, one day I'm going to go to Lake Powell. And I'm going to be shirtless.
Or you're going to forget out of the shower or something.
Yes.
You're going to scratch your head. He's going to see it.
And we're like, what the hell is this?
And it's true. Like, everything's full circle. Like, they always say there's 3 things that you can't hide. It's the sun, moon, and then the truth.
Yeah. The sun, moon, and truth you can't hide. That's so fair. So as soon as I went from like, man, I wonder what it looked like down here, dude, it was like boom, 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 boom. The energies, everything dropped in. It was just like, and look at this, and look at that, and what do you think? And what about this? I was like, holy shit. And, you know, that led me to you and things along those lines. It was just cool to watch it create itself.
Yeah, the process of just booking it is, if you can really focus on that, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
And then you can put that towards life in general, you know. Everything just unfolds, you know.
And to not, like this morning when you text me, my little younger versions were like, dude, this is kind of a hasty decision. And I was like, hold the phone. We've been waiting 11 months.
Yeah. You've been preparing.
I've been preparing. This is the anti.
Yeah, you've been waiting on the clip. You just need to jump.
Uh-huh. And like, it was cool to be able to soothe myself that way. And then to also recognize like, hey, I'm not sacrificing that power to make a choice to my dad. And be like, oh, I'll wait till he dies so I won't disappoint. It's like, man, that's not a really good way to live in any situation.
It really isn't, you know. It's holding you back, enabling your reality.
Yeah.
Or you as a human being, you know.
Yep.
And that projects in your reality.
Absolutely. So that's been really cool. Even just to go under this, like, this isn't a big deal, but it feels like a huge deal.
Yeah, emotions, man. They can play games with us.
So much.
And,
So much.
They're not accurate.
Nope.
This one's gonna be a little bit more spicy.
This is the spicy thing you keep talking about, huh? Where all those nerves are.
Had a little spot between your elbow too. That one's a little spicy too.
Yeah, there's a couple one that I was like, yeehaw.
And this little symbol down here too.
That'll be a fun one. I can already feel it when you're on the F. Down there, I was like, oh yeah, that one I feel up through my arm. The cool part is this is like, it's not been anything like I was prepping my mind for. It's like,
you know, over prepping is a good thing because when you expect the worst and then you get in there, you're like, oh.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm already mentally prepared for this because I thought it was going to be worse.
When you started running the first line, I was like, oh. Yeah, not bad. Not like what? I was like, man, am I going to be able to sit? And one of my buddies got one. He's like, dude, it is like the worst. And I'm like, ooh, if he can, can I? And I'm like, yeah, I can do anything. This is going to be good. I'll do some meditations and just...
Yeah. I always make a joke about, you know, people are worried about it. I'm like, it's just going to determine on how bad your parents beat you when you're younger.
Like, some of y'all didn't have abusive parents when you were younger, and it shows. So how do you continue to further your tattoo knowledge? Do you go to tattoo conventions and they like tell you depth or technique, or you just keep practicing? And
as far as to me, I'm at the point where like I feel comfortable where I can tattoo. I feel like any concept, you know, like I can approach it as far as technique goes.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like concept wise, that's usually your end challenge. Is like trying to continue to find concepts.
Oh.
Because there's amazing tattoo artists out there, but bro, all they do is copy and paste, you know what I mean? And it looks amazing and it was executed very well, but then it's like the artistic side of it was like you only projected like 20% of what, you know what I mean, what came from the thought process, you know what I mean? And so for me, I'm trying to become as pure of an artist as I can through concept, because at the end of the day, it's always concept, you know what I mean? Because people try, the tattoo industry gets a little confused, I feel like, with perfect lines, perfect saturation. That's not persona, you know what I mean? An art is persona. It's you projecting what's from within. And when you become a slave to these perfect lines, and that's why I got that loose style, because art's not supposed to be perfect. You know? These little mistakes is personality, you know what I mean? And, and when you take that away from your art, you're now not doing what you know, what's within, you know what I mean?
It's not an art piece.
It's not an art piece anymore, man.
It's the drive for perfection, and in reality,
there's no such thing.
No,
you're already perfect.
Yeah, there's perfection in imperfection.
Yes, man. It's personality, man. It's personality. It's you projecting into your own art. And so when I see all these amazing tattoos, I'm like, that's cool, but I can just Google that and see it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see what Google pictures have. I want to see what you're pulling from within, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I started pushing towards the concept on my social media, where, you know, I'm only going to try and do personal flash, things like that. Yeah.
So what does that word mean? Personal flash. Does that mean artwork that you've created?
Yeah, so it's just things like that. So this would be one of them.
That would be a personal flash, where it's like
yeah.
you put the concept together. You're like, I want to try this. You put it on paper, and someone says, yeah, put that on my body.
Yeah. A lot of people just go through my portfolio and they're like, hey, I like this image that you did. You know, do you mind tattooing this? You know, making a connection to it. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then we start getting into it. And then it's funny, my clients make sometimes a different connection on what the art piece actually stood for, which is still cool, man, because it's just they found a relation to it, you know. But yeah, most of my stuff is just pushing more like conscious awareness, you know. That's what true art form used to be, you know.
Yeah. So I've noticed with there's a really cool one that I thought was awesome. I believe you did tattoo it, but it's got this female looking face with birds flying up over the top. It's like Mother Earth with snowflakes.
Oh yeah, that was a Mother Nature thing.
Mother Nature, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a really cool concept. I like not just the concept, but the methods that you brought everything in. Again, the flow. The whole reason I'm here is that you can create so much flow.
Appreciate that, man. That's heavily on my graffiti side, man.
Yeah.
When you're doing like big murals and all that stuff, you have to find ways to utilize space without making it look like you're trying to utilize space.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big lesson I had to learn growing up. Telling some of my mentors.
That makes sense. Tell me about this piece. Like, as you know, I pitched this stick figure drawing your way, and I'm like, hey, these are some things that are important to me, but as you're putting it together, is this more on the side of like when you're putting it together, what was that process for you?
I always try and incorporate something in me, which would be like, you know, the yin and yang. It's a hard balance, you know, even though you can understand the concept of, you know, centering and balance, it's an everyday battle to stay that way.
Yeah.
And so it's not always beautiful, so I wanted to add some ruggedness in there, you know what I mean? But then the bottom is like more peaceful with the paint strokes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm still in there, man, even though it's your concept.
Good. That's what I was hoping for.
And just the execution in general, you know, I try not to have a style, but people recognize my artwork out there, you know.
Yeah.
See it, they're like, Becky? They're like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, you did mine, you know.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't realize how many murals he had around town either. I walked past one and was like, no shit, Becky did that.
I don't sign them, it's funny.
Yeah, no, I didn't see any type of signing on it.
Yeah, I don't sign them.
But your art is your signature.
Exactly, man. I always say, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't do anything for attention, fame, or anything like that. I just do it because I can, and sometimes I just help people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when you sign things and you put it out there, if you think about it, you're like leaving kind of almost an egotistical attachment.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this is my mural. You know.
I did it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't sign it. Some of the business owners, they always, you know, push me to do it, but I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it if I get to it, you know. But if I don't feel it and it doesn't feel right or definitive, then I just won't do it.
Yeah.
So I think I've only signed like maybe 2 out of the like 10 murals I did last year.
Did you?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not really. Look at me.
Yeah. Look what I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's awesome to see where you're putting yourself in the tattoo and the artwork here, of that balance of the smooth with the rugged plus the yin and yang in of itself.
Yeah, I kind of already sensed the story, you know.
Yeah, I can appreciate that it wasn't just a. Oh, you want that? Cool. Let's slap that on the thing. Whatever you do, don't do it like mine. My artwork skills suck.
I know how that'd be funny if you came in and like, so.
Do you want this?
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's exactly what
I'm talking about with the copy and paste, you know?
Yeah.
These artists, they're so amazing, but they limit themselves by perfect lines and super saturation. Google this, Google that, you know?
What is the saturation?
I want to see what you can do. Oh, saturation would be just like consistency, really smooth. So saturation would be like, for instance, this wall. Like you don't see any like.
Oh, there's nothing through it.
It's just solid. You know what I mean? Like it's just smooth. So yeah. And,
just being fully saturated. Okay.
If it's not, they have this old funny shit like back in prison. They call them holidays, like when they see little patches here and there.
Oh, holidays?
Yeah, they say your artist was on a holiday when he did that. It's funny.
Nice. Yeah, I get stuck on like, well, this is what you wanted, and I'm like, oh, please do not go that way. But everything I've seen afterwards, I was like, okay, now he's just gonna. I had to remind myself, like, the art hasn't been created. It wasn't necessarily created until this morning, you know.
There's a funny joke though between some of my new clients and my existing ones.
Yeah.
They always say, don't pay attention to his sketch or his freehand. They're like, just trust him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I guess it's a funny inside joke that everyone's like, bro, when I saw the stencil and shit, I was like, what the fuck is this, man? It's so funny. Or like, man, he was freehanding me. I was like, God damn, this looks like shit. You know? It's so funny. But then when they see it come together, you know, they're just like, oh man.
Because you can see it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's what that line will do, and then we'll shade this in, and we'll do that. But you only see the stencil, and also just or what you're freehanding.
It's just reference lines, you know. For me, so, but yeah, it's just funny. It's like one of the little inside jokes. Everyone's like, don't worry about his freehand and all that. They're like, just trust him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny.
Just trust the situation.
So trying to control it.
Control.
How long have you been doing your podcast for?
Oh man, I started in 2017, and I haven't released much of anything in the last 2.5 years. But in quitting, I mean, I'll still be doing therapy. My plan is to revive it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I love podcasting. I went in for perfection, and it burned myself out.
Yeah, I'm sure the editing is a whole nother ballgame.
Oh, dude, I was trying to be This American Life or something like that, where they got 30 different people running the same episode. That was my biggest problem, to tell you the truth, and I didn't recognize it till COVID hit, and I was like, dude, I'm fucking done with everything. I'm just gonna sit back and do nothing.
Yeah, it's good to take those little breaks, man.
It was.
You know what's funny is COVID is just one of those things I should tell my clients where it either happened to you or for you, right?
Uh-huh.
And so the reason how COVID happened for my wife and I is that, so in 13 years, so I've been tattooing 13 years when 2020 had hit.
Yeah.
And I had probably only had like 50 days off, bro, in those 13 years. I worked like Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know what I mean? And like, you know, my wife just, you know, she held it down at the house too, you know? And yeah, so COVID was the first time I was forced to take a break because they closed us, you know what I mean? They were like, you're closed on the month of, I think it was May or something like that. Yeah. And I was just like doing little small things just to pay some bills, you know what I mean? Like some trustworthy clients. And other than that, bro, like, yeah, I was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I was like almost getting anxiety because I wasn't doing something, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, we repainted the whole shop, you know, we like just cleaned up everything and just like, man, it was crazy. And that was just like 2 days worth of work. And so my wife and I are just like, dude, we were like, man, this is rough. But that little break though, man, it gave us an outside perspective of how we were building our business, because we only had the inside perspective. We were just in it, doing it, and just like boom, 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 right? So I didn't get to see how our structure was actually built. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so when I finally had a break, my wife and I were just going over some game plans and business plans, and we were like, damn, we gotta change this, we gotta change that, we gotta fire this guy, you know what I mean, because he's super toxic or whatever. And we're just like, man, we really got to see an outer perspective, man. And so I compared it to like if you're painting a big mural, if you don't take a step back from time to time, the eyes and everything are like misproportioned. You get what I'm saying? No kidding. And so that's like reality in general, man. I was like, I've never painted a mural before, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it gave us that outer perspective in order for us to have that different visual of like how we were doing things. And my wife and I are like, oh man, we kind of suck. we gotta change some things. No, we did a lot of cool, amazing stuff, you know. But it could have always been better, you know. And so that little break and everything like that just kind of gave us that outer perspective so that we could change things that would start benefiting and growing a little bit faster than what we wanted, you know. So yeah, man, those little breaks gotta take those breaks.
Gotta take those breaks, that's for sure.
And I kind of feel like that happened in your experience as well, you know, when you have to kind of take a step back and you're like, man, I'm kind of being too hard and doing this and that.
Oh, yeah. And I'd sit there, I'd do one episode, and I'd record for the hour, and then I'd take 2 or 3 to, like, put everything together and make it perfect, take all the ums out of the conversation so I could do this perfect episode. And I'm like, hey, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
We're not going to go to perfect episodes anymore because there's perfection and imperfection. People are consuming free content.
Yeah.
And I want to do the interviews. That's what I really want to do. So let's do the interviews versus saying like, well, I'm not going to interview anyone because I hate doing all the back end. Well, I don't hate doing all the back end, but it takes longer and it's not as pleasurable for me.
Yeah, you lose the passion for it when you start getting into that side of it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny too is it goes back to trying to create that perfectness. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I didn't recognize how into it I was. Or I'm like, if I could do this perfect episode, then this. And people weren't like, dude, I recognize you don't have any ums in your episode. They're like, dude, I really like this concept, and your audio is great because I can do great audio. And I'm like, if I stuck with that and people had in there, it doesn't matter. If I have like a 2-minute section where the person's like, hey, I should have said this. I'm sorry. Like, I would take notes and just like, oh, edit that.
Yeah. Huh?
You know? Boop. Do that. Or if they, did a string of obscenities, it was for parents. And I'm trying to get to the more conservative LDS population, so I don't want to turn them off to listening to sex if someone's in there being like, and then fuck these guys. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'd turn them off pretty bad. So I'll let them know, like, hey, you can swear in here, but I may take out F words.
Yeah. Just that's just going to like being respectful.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get all that. Yeah, for me too. So I've been recording a few of my sessions just with, I know with certain clients would be beneficial to some people.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there was like one point where he said something too, and I was like, that could probably be pretty offensive, So.
Yeah.
But then I had to listen to like 3 hours of content just to find it because I don't know where it's at. These tattoo sessions, they go for like, anywhere from between 4 to 6 hours. So.
Yeah, you need to, if it helps you at all, 2 things that I've done. If you ever, do you go...
Stop and record real quick. So it breaks it up into tracks.
Yes, that actually is one way to do it.
Oh, really? Oh, hell yeah.
Another one is I'll go over to whatever the mic is and I'll snap or clap, and it creates a spike.
Oh,
so it'll actually, cool. So you can spike it. So whenever I'll start talking, I'll start recording just to get sound quality and stuff at the beginning of an episode. And instead of listening to the first 5-10 minutes being like, where did we start? I'll just be like, all right, we're about ready to start. So I'll either go dead quiet or I'll do these.
Yeah.
And I'll see these 3 spikes, and I can go over there and I listen to 2 seconds versus 5 minutes to find out where things are at.
That's cool, yeah. I'll have to remember that. I'll do something funnier though. I'll be like, yo.
Boom. You're like, oh, I need to look at this, and then you can listen to 10 minutes and be like, oh yeah, there's that.
There's that yodel right there.
Right there. That one helps. Or I'll keep a pen and paper and just stay. And like if you've got something there, I'll be like, look at around minute 45.
Yeah.
Look around minute 2 hours and 13 minutes. That means I could go almost to that place, and I can play with 2 or 3 minutes and be like, oh yeah, let's find out where the end of that goes. And then you're listening to what you don't want, and then you find a way to cut that out. Usually there's a good pause in the conversation from what you want edited. Nice. Take it out, bam. So that works really well that way.
Yeah, I'm definitely just going to wing them all. If there is some offensive like content and all that, I'll just, I'll go out the way to find it and take it out. But for the most part, yeah, I think I'm just these last few ones that I've done were really good ones, so I don't need to edit anything. That's cool. I found that the majority of the time you don't need to. Yeah, you can kind of control the conversation to where it doesn't get too crazy, Yeah, especially if you're whoever who you imagine your audience is. Yeah. Like with the Mormon population, my audience is a little more intense when it comes to what they'll consume. And I even have to call into question, do I want them to be my audience? I was going to say, and that's a choice on their end. It is. They don't have to watch it if they're offended by it. And they don't. And there's a part of me that's trying to control
oh, if it's not offensive, then they'll listen to it, and that'll get them sexual education. Like, that still doesn't mean that they will then act on what I'm trying to get them.
People would kind of prefer a little bit more of the real, raw stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of
not like grimy, but just like it sounds more realistic when you hear people saying like shit, fuck, you know what I mean?
It does.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, I do that all the time too, you know?
Yep, and that's what
deeper connections, you know.
That's what a lot of people have been talking about with what people want to consume in their content now. Is it almost feels like part of a conversation versus a documentary.
Exactly.
Like you're just in there, a fly on the wall, listening, being like, oh yeah.
And they can connect more to that because I feel like people, if they realize it's more of a genuine conversation rather than like by script,
yes,
then they kind of tune in more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's what as I look into this next one, I'm going to do seasons because I was like, I'm going to do it every other week, forever!
Yeah.
And I would hold myself to that. And it's like, no, if I put in, 16 episodes a year, that's completely doable, and I can put in really good content for what I want to experience.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to like make sure I come up with content and be like, oh, I don't know if I'm able to do that or not, and I feel like I'm failing the listeners, and it's like it became really frustrating when there was that expectation versus I just like doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let me know. I mean, if you're interested in having me on there, I'd be more than happy and welcome to do that. So
yeah,
trying to push my content out there as well.
Yeah.
Just feel like a lot of the experiences that my wife and I have gone through, can help a lot of people.
Nice. What would you, if you had a chance to, is that what you're wanting to do in your podcast as well, or what would you want to share with what you and your wife have experienced?
Everything, yeah, a little bit of everything. Some of the conversations I have that have been recorded in some of my sessions were like people that were, about to make a leap in business, and I tell people, hey, that's the hardest part, just making that leap, quitting, and realizing it's going to be okay. And I have conversations like that, some through our business adventures, and just a little bit of everything.
Nice.
But I actually wouldn't hop in there as with any platform or anything. I would just get an interesting person and just start vibing.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I've got my direction of what I'm looking for as I move into the next one, which will be interesting to see, is usually it's for parents talking to their kids about sexual health. And it's always good to be able to have someone that can talk about that, of what they've done, experiences, opening things up. The people that have been listening most have been other therapists, and so I may be shifting my podcast into how to do therapy in the therapeutic realm when you're talking about sexual issues, because that's what people have been dying for, at least what I get most requests for. Like, okay, we're talking to your kids about sex, but how do you do this in the therapeutic realm? Because a lot of therapists don't do it.
Oh, like as far as how the message is being projected?
Yeah, or even bringing it up. There's so many therapists that are like, I just wait for my clients to bring it up. I'm like, dude, they're never going to bring it up. If you're not bringing it up, they're not going to.
But like we were saying earlier, we're all programmed to think that, the conversation of sex is like, ooh,
yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
But no, it's just, booty and dick, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, booty and dick.
We all have one. Last time I remember.
That's what's so fun. And that's like, oh, now we got to create judgments of what's bigger, what's more beautiful.
Oh, yeah, and all that. That's all porn trajectory right there.
It
is.
Know
what I mean? It's like, man, if everybody looked like that, I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't be in their profession, right?
No, yeah.
I'd probably have a different career.
Absolutely. So true. And it's talked about that's the alpha.
Yeah.
The alpha's got the biggest dick. The most beautiful woman's got the most voluptuous and perfect quote unquote vulva, and it's just like they're all unique.
Yeah.
If we can move away from that, but that's a sex obsessed community or society that has little to no education about it.
Yeah.
So it's all people can really talk about, but they don't know
probably how to go about it, right?
They don't.
And it's all through like other people's comfort levels too,
Oh yeah.
But it's funny because with age, it kind of goes away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You get older and you have these other buddies. You're just like, yeah, you know, this, and that. You know, what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, how about this, and that? You know, it's just, it's whatever. You know. But how do we get people to get to that point? You know, on a maturity level, before they even look at it as that. You know.
I know. If we could get people to start talking about sex before they have it, people are so much more comfortable talking or having sex before talking about it.
You know how I'm doing it in my house?
How?
I'm taking the jokes to like a minor, somewhat inappropriate level. You know what I'm saying? Like just a funny thing, like, oh, balls, you know what I mean? And then after that, you know, I'll slowly ease in. And then that way, you know, if they're used to hearing those terms in your house, then you can easily, like, you already had planted the seed. You know?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, and so.
It's approachable.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you know, like we mentioned earlier too, you know, project it more as like spiritual and maybe scientist level, you know, Scientology level, you know, where it's just like, hey, yeah, you know, this is how it's a proven fact that every single individual human being on this planet has been, you know what I mean, conceived through sex.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just, you know, that reason alone is like, you know, this is completely normal, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but,
There's creation power within each of us, and this is how the human race continues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating that, again, we can't talk about it.
Yeah, right. It's funny. Just comfort levels on some people's programming in their environment.
Yeah, but if you get the comfortability, you can have those conversations, you can bring the jokes, you can bring the education.
Yeah.
It ultimately leads to your kids being more open to having the conversations later, asking questions, and they're not going to be like, oh, Dad's going to think I'm dumb.
Or like, hey, this is, you know, too inappropriate, but it's like, no, man, like, if you came up to me, I'd just be like, all right, let's go get some protection. Like,
Yes.
You know, let's make sure that this is the guy that you're willing to share yourself with, you know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's not like these apps where you just hop on, connect, and then get the fuck out, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you are sharing a very, very, like, spiritual moment with these people.
Exactly.
You know? And it's not just fucking and sex.
No.
It's... You're literally donating energy and you're creating euceric, or what's that term? Euceric connections with people, or esoteric or something like that.
I can't remember the. Yeah,
Because
how you pronounce esoteric. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
But if you think about it too, like every single person you've had intercourses with, they still cross your mind from time to time. Like you are seriously connected, you know, in ways that you don't understand, like or ways that people don't understand, you know, by just donating themselves to each other.
Yes.
I tell people, man, there's like the spiritual side of it, and then I feel like people. I'm sure you have friends that are in relationships like that too, but they're almost just using people to masturbate with.
Yeah, it's really, it's like, I'm about to get mine, hopefully you get yours in time.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, you know, kids come out of that, and they have this toxic environment, and then the kids are, you know, are not seeing a genuine connection in it, and then they fall into that. It's just it's a vicious cycle, man.
It is. Or it's to start proving to yourself how great of a lover you are.
Yeah.
Or a person... or that I still got it. That's my favorite quote that people say. I still got it. And like, so you still got it because someone decided they were going to get naked with you and touch genitals.
Right.
Like that's how you know that you got it versus you being able to say to yourself like, hey, I feel like I'm in a good spot.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the conversation comes up, you know, like, because my kids are actually pretty wise. Like, my youngest, she, like, not so much dating, but, like, when some boy tries to say, like, hey, I'm crushing on you, you know, they'll get each other's, like, whatever, probably Snapchat or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just try and talk for a little bit, but then, you know, eventually she gives up on it. But my oldest, though, at one point, all of her friends were, like, hooked up, you know what I mean? And she hasn't gave into that.
Yeah.
And, I was really proud of her because she came up and talked to us about it. And I was like, oh, that's cool, you know? I said, well, I really appreciate you for being wise enough for not just following the crowd, you know? And then I guess one of her friends was like giving her shit, like, oh, why don't you hook up with this and that? And she was just like, I don't want to. Like, what are we going to do? Talk about Capri Suns? You know what I mean? It's just like, because, dude, she was like 7th, 6th grade, you know what I mean? And I was like, it's true, you know? What are you going to do? Like, hey, so how sharp, you know, you got papers today, you know? For homework? It's like, yeah, so...
We're going on a date with mom and dad taking us to the park. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah, so I really appreciate her for that, you know? And I was like, that's cool, man. My daughter's a lot more aware. And still to this day, you know? She's still just like, wait till I get older, you know? But on the other side, on the flip side, though, I also said, like, hey, but don't judge because you're gonna get to an age where your hormones are gonna hijack your intellect, and there's nothing you're gonna be able to do about it. You know, at that point, it's gonna be how strong your discipline is.
Yeah, and then not experiencing like
premature relationship sex. You know, that's probably the best way to put it, because you know, oh, he's fine or she's fine, let's have sex, but it's like, but the attachment that comes to people, it's like, you know, I don't know, does he have brains? You know, is he? You know what I mean? Is he pretty stable mentally? And
exactly.
Is she stable mentally? Is she, you know, got the time to commit to a full-time relationship? But
yeah, what does it mean to you to be sexual? What are you guys doing when it comes to protection? What are you guys doing when it comes to, you know, emotional sharing? Like what you both want to experience versus you have to have sex in this way?
Yeah, because there's that whole pleasure and desire part of it, and then there's like the spirituality part of it, you know?
Yeah, there's something bigger.
We made a joke a few months ago. I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but I was saying that if I could open up my own schools, I would teach people, you know, how to be more self-sufficient, how to do your taxes, you know, better diet, how to meditate, and I told them, and the attachment that comes with pussy.
And the attachment that comes with pussy, yes.
Like, you can have kids when you have sex. You guys know that, right? Like, it's just funny, you know?
Yep. Oh, I had a client just a couple weeks ago I was working with, and he's like LDS, but very, very well stuck in the mindset, but still kind of like not practicing.
Yeah, they still fear like some relative in the family.
Yep.
I feel like, yeah.
And he's not even on the side like, I think I want to leave. He's just like, oh, I feel like shit when I masturbate. And I'm like, well, let's address that and try and work through it. And at one point in time, he's got this girlfriend, and they go from week to week. I see him on a weekly basis. He was one week was like, yeah, we were making out and stuff, and then went to touching, and then now we went to like hand jobs, and like started progressing through this progression. I was like, dude, did you buy condoms? And he's like, that's a bit presumptive, isn't it, Braxton? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm presuming that as things continue like they have in the last 4 weeks, that eventually you're going to get to vaginal sex. That's what you've told me you want to experience, right? And he's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to like go out and be like, oh, I've already got this. Yeah. And I'm like, do you want children? No. Do you want an STI? Well, we can't give each other STIs. We're virgins. And I'm like, that can be accurate in that level. And do you know that she's not? Right. Do you like how much trust do you have with this person too? You're building trust.
So much attachment, right?
Yeah. So it's just, I just always laugh whenever someone's like, it's kind of presumptive. I'm like, that's such the LDS culture. I remember when I first started to drink, it was that experience too, where they're like, I'm like, oh, I won't drink, but I won't have it in the house.
Right.
Or I won't plan to drink, but if someone's like, hey, you know, like, here's a shot. Be like, oh, okay, well, God, I didn't plan on it, so yeah, I didn't really mean to sin that way.
I was trying to find the gray areas.
Yeah.
It's always your intentions, you know?
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
I always tell people, too, you know, they only want change when they control, like, the narrative and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Some people, like, in that situation, try and create it. But, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've dealt with quite a few, you know, especially during my tattoo career, man. It just, like I said, that was the #1 conversation for years, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, hey, I left the church, and you know, I've been wanting to experience a tattoo, this and that.
Yeah.
It sucks too, because I'll see them like maybe a year later, you know, get another one,
mm-hmm.
and they say like their family has completely disowned them, and they haven't talked to them since then.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh man. I said, hey, to be honest with you, bro, like, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever it is, man, I said, like, if they can't seriously appreciate you doing something like that, you know, like, maybe it's just better off without it, you know, like,
yeah,
just because it's your, you know, just because they've been in your life for that long, it doesn't mean they're going to be definitive towards your reality either.
Yeah, and that's hard concept, dude.
It is, you know, because you're holding on to this, you know, concept of like family, blood, like, you know, thicker than water, and this and that. But it's like, man, I heard more family fuck people over than you know what I mean?
So accurate, so accurate.
It's that saying that don't ever do business with family, or like, man, just don't ever give your, you know, family money type shit.
Mm-hmm. Because that's true. There's the expectation of how you're supposed to treat family, how family's supposed to treat you, and
yeah, programming even in that.
Yeah,
sense.
and like, oh, I can't not see them.
Yeah. It's like, no, you can.
And that's hard. I find myself in the middle of that one frequently. Like I talked to you about my dad and stuff, where it's just seriously so much like an experience where, like, man, my stepmom's just not fun to be around. Not fun energetically. Doesn't add to my life. Typically causes a lot of stress. Much more on the side of, did you hear about this? Oh, and she'll do it within the siblings and be like, oh, your brother said he was so disappointed in you when this and this happened. So I'm like, so I call up my brother after that. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm sorry that it, that this came across this way. That was not my intention. He's like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
I just heard this, and he's like, hey, I'm chill. Like, let's talk that through. I'm like, oh, not an issue? He's like, no, not an issue at all. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, just very toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely had to go through that too. I detached, from my environment for about 5-6 years. This is actually the first year that I'm starting to go back and see what's up. And yeah, bro, people just don't change. It's still there. It's crazy.
Is it really?
Yeah. So, but I mean, as far as us, allowing this family member back to, we kind of didn't really have as much expectations. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So we're just kind of like, yeah, we're being cool by allowing this to happen, and then if it gets worse, we just have to shut it down again. So we're slowly shutting it down again.
Gotcha.
Just too toxic.
Is this an individual person? Or is this a big part of your family?
Yeah. It's actually my parents.
Oh, it's your parents.
I love my parents to death, but just the realities are just not aligned.
Oh yeah.
Especially just old school, that generation, man. 60s, bro.
60s
and 70s, man. That generation is crazy.
You're so right.
Very programmed,
Yeah, I think my dad is 64.
He's like church and college and sports. If you didn't do any of those, you're bad.
Yeah. Wasted time. What the hell are you here for? That's not how I raised you. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, unique generation.
It's a funny thing, though. But yeah, we thought we'd just kind of revisit all that, and we're just like, oh, wow. It's like, hasn't been much growth on that side,
Mm-hmm.
But this time it's actually not even us, because, we both went back into it like, well, we already know how, these things, how certain people act,
Yeah.
So we didn't really go back, like I said, with a whole lot of expectations, but it's our kids that are picking up on it, so they're not comfortable, and so we're like, all right, time to pull that plug again, And
Dang. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It makes it really difficult. The other thing is you don't want to expose them to all the experiences that could...
It's our job to protect their mental as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's just... it was a little bit easier for us to deal with, because our intentions were to bring them back into our lives, because, we want our kids to have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's still toxic. And just let things be sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is. But definitely don't have any bad intentions or anything about it, I'm just like, well, we tried. This is what it is, so.
Yeah, did everything you could.
Yeah, for sure.
So is this the shading side of things?
Yep.
Cool.
Shading usually feels a little bit lighter, but in your case, you kind of already had some trauma with outline.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going over those areas.
Oh yeah, and it's not a problem. I just it's fascinating. So you got multiple needles on it. And...
Yeah, just look at it as like a painting aspect. It's just bigger needles, a smoother saturation. It's like a roller,
Like a roller,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and
that's
if you
fair.
want to find detail, then smaller.
Then you do the smaller.
Smaller the needle grouping.
And then it sounds like you turn down the rotations on it or something like that too.
Yeah, the voltage, line work. Sometimes you need a little bit more push to get it in there, because it's just a fine line that's grouped together really tightly.
Oh, so you need it to really, so you can keep a solid line. That's fair.
And then with shading, the needles are a little grouped out, a little bit more spaced. So this one, the mags, they're grouped out like this. So it's like a brush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But because they're spread out, you don't really need as much push. Plus, I like to layer it in. So.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Oh, I was going to show you the one thing I was describing to you earlier. First off, that was cool. You did that with someone else, right?
Yeah. So that was what was it? I want to say, it was in Bountiful, I think.
Oh, is this in Bountiful?
I think so, maybe, yeah.
The Sage Soar and...
Yeah, she was the one that had reached out to me.
Yeah?
And they wanted to do something for their team. That company was pretty legit, man. Like, their boss and everybody, they're very, like, aware of their clients. And
the Eagling Environmental?
Yeah, just like their employees and all that. Like, as soon as you walk in there, man, they just got these big old quotes, you know what I mean? Like, just very inspirational. Yeah, the leader, too, man. He's just a leader, man. He's good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that was cool, like the feathers and stuff like that going off, plus the little dots and things like that.
Yeah.
So I say it was this.
They wanted to say something. Yeah, that's the one.
That little thing, I love that aspect. Plus those little dots, and it just kind of like almost like it was thrown on there.
Yeah.
Like I thought those were pretty damn cool. How little accent works.
It's funny. Yeah, that is the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, when you said it had the moon, I was like, yeah, I know. We're on the same page. I don't know what bird it was, but yeah, that was pretty cool. So I don't know if it works on this one, or if you're gonna throw something on there like that.
Yeah, I kind of got that.
Oh, cool. Right on. Love it.
So when's the last time you have done a podcast?
I think the last one I posted was February.
February.
Yeah. I've done other podcasts. Like we'll do this. There's this other sex therapist that's like, let's do a book club, and we'll read, these sexual health or sex therapy books, and then kind of explain it.
And just go at it.
Go at it, and then give it a rating. It's kind of like, hey, this is something. If you're a therapist, you should read. If you're a person that's not a therapist, is this
still a good read?
Still a good read, something that'd be important, or is it more, something you should pass on? And so I have those. I just need to post them. I need to edit them and post them. I've got like 16, and a lot of people like those, so I'm gonna put those out.
Nice.
And get those flowing. And then I've been writing down the different people, or what my first season is going to look like, hopefully going into 2023. I think we're going to look at out-of-control sexual behavior, what it looks like to clients, methods of treating it, and addressing like when things get labeled as addiction, how it usually ends the conversation.
Unfortunately, we ran out of memory on my tablet, so that one got cut short. But that session lasted about 5 hours or so. But you will be posting some more episodes. I'll put the link in the bottom. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you on the next episode.